Hey there, my name's Leslie Armour, and I led a team again this year to Kenya, and we were there the first week of May. It was our largest team that we've taken to Kenya. We had 17 on this team, and it was amazing as always. We partnered again with ITHM, which stands for International Treasure House Ministries, and I'm just reminding you that this is the rescue center that we partner with, and they go in and they rescue young moms. Some of the moms are 12 and 13 years old, and their babies from the bush, the slum. Some of them are being sold into sex trafficking and that type of thing, and they're brought to ITHM where they are loved and clothed and fed, and they get school and health, medical, and more than anything, they get Jesus. So that's who we partner with. So we were there in Kenya, first week of May. You know, it's so interesting how God puts together teams. And this year, a man named Mark Kite, I don't know if some of you might know him, but he and his wife, Sharon, went with us, and Mark is a retired engineer, and guess what ITHM needed this time? They needed some brains of an engineer to help them with some of the issues that they were having there at their place. So while Mark helped Johnny, who is the husband of Jennifer, Johnny and Jennifer are our missionaries that run that, then the rest of the team, some of us rocked babies, while some led a training and Bible study for the house moms there at ITHM. It was a wonderful, wonderful day, things that were needed to get done. But the next day, we went to a new ministry that Jennifer, our missionary, had heard of and wanted to do some things with, and it was called Rebirth of a Queen. And Rebirth of a Queen was a home that housed sexually assaulted victims. And these were young women, girls, most of them young teenagers, that had been sexually assaulted. We had a service. Pastor Avery goes with us every year. So we had a service outside of their home on the grounds, and we had a church service. We sang, and it was so cool to watch these girls who have literally been through hell in their lives, and they're so young, things that we cannot even fathom here in the States. But when they were singing about Jesus, their joy-filled face and their smiles, it was just amazing. So we sang, they danced, because that's their culture, and then Pastor Avery got up and spoke. And when he preached, that was the sexually assaulted children, girls, from Rebirth of a Queen, and ITHM, the rescue children, that a lot of that had happened to them too, sitting in the audience with our team. And guess what? 23 of these young women gave their lives to Christ. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And to know, it's so cool when anybody gives their life to Christ, but to see the transformation from where they've been and what they've gone through to now knowing Jesus was just one of the highlights, of course, of the whole trip. One of the biggest highlight probably for me was out of that 23 that accepted Christ, I want to take you back to 2 years ago when we were there, and we were actually, I think I've shared this before, but we were actually a part of a rescue where we went in and 5 hours into the bush, into the slum, and we rescued 2 little sisters that were 5 and 7 years old that were getting ready to be sold into slavery, into sex trafficking. And we rescued them, got them in the Jeep. They had never seen a vehicle, brought them to ITHM. They had never seen white people. They had never slept on a bed. They were starving. They had never had food at their, easily available. For sure had never had love and attention, and they were given that. And I remember the very next day trying to hold the little girl's hand, and she took her hand away because she was so scared to hold my hand. And I said, that's okay. Well, fast forward to while we were there, that was 2 of the girls that accepted Christ, were those that had been rescued 2 years prior. Amazing, amazing transformation. Rebirth of a Queen is a home, like I said, and it's tucked away. It's hidden in the trees because they don't want anybody, the people that abused them, to know where they are for safety. But a few weeks prior, when we had been there, somebody had found out and they had broken into the home and beat the girls up. So that is a prayer request, that they get enough money to find another place, another home to lease out where these girls will be safe. The next day we went to a park, and on Champion Forest, your mission money has gone to help us on this team pay for this type of thing, and we reserved a portion of the park. We fed all of these kids a meal, and that's a big deal when they get to eat a meal. And we the park has like inflatables and that type of thing. They don't ever get to do anything like that. So they got to go to this park and have just fun, just to be a child and have fun that day. Afterwards, that park has a swimming pool, and they've never been in the water. They've never seen a swimming pool, but we had baptism for the girls that accepted Christ, and Pastor Avery baptized 15 that day. And one of the girls that I mentioned that we had rescued 2 years prior, Gatoto was her name. She was one that was baptized. It was just a highlight for me. After the very last person, though, to be baptized was not one of the girls. It was a young Kenyan man. I think he was like young 20s. His name was Luigi. And he was the dog trainer for Jennifer and Johnny, our missionaries. And he had been demon possessed for years. And just a few months prior to this day, he was demon possessed. Like I said, he had gone into where his girlfriend was sleeping and held a knife to her throat. And he said something, we know what the something was, told him, "Don't do it, stop." And he did not slice her throat. He got out of the bed and he ran out, and he was screaming like he was in torture. He runs down the street, and it was the demons. It was spiritual warfare going on. And he found a brothel that he went in, and he said he laid on the floor. He told us he saw shadows on the walls. He was screaming in pain. He felt in his stomach things were coming out. It was all this weird stuff, which was demon possession. And he remembered from when his mom, when he was very, very, very young, what came into his mind right then was the verse, "If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved." And he said at that moment, he had never thought of that verse since he was like 4 years old. He remembered that, and he prayed, "God, if you're real, save me." And he said at that point, he could feel a lot of the demons leaving, but he still was in torture the next night. He still went through a lot of torture because as the demons were coming out of him, he found a pastor that prayed with him and finally was released from the demons. He then was clean, and he was baptized as our last person. And you know, before God allowed me to start going on the mission field, when I would hear stories like this, I honestly thought, oh, is that true? But y'all, it's true. On the mission field, you see it. You see it a lot. It's true. And it was amazing to see the transformation in Luigi from being his stories. We did not see him being demon possessed, but the stories of that to now where he's a believer in Jesus and he's living for the Lord, and he was baptized. It was just amazing. At the end of the trip was a Sunday. We're at ITHM on their property, and we had one of the big tent canopies, and we had a service. Rebirth of a Queen girls came, ITHM girls were there, and our team. And we had a service. We danced, we sang, Pastor Avery preached, And Jennifer, our missionary, got up and reminded the girls after church of the ITHM girls. Girls, you know you get an allowance once a month. I want you to pray about giving a portion of your allowance to Johnny, her husband, who they call Daddy. And we will start a fund to help our new friends, Rebirth of a Queen, find a new place to live, because some bad people came and they've got to be safe and we've got to find a place. And these are young girls that they're talking to. She said, you don't have to do this, but just pray about if God wants you to use some of your allowance. So we prayed to say the closing prayer. Our church service was over, and little girls started coming up to Jennifer and saying, I want you to take my whole allowance and give to them. And Jennifer said, oh, you don't need to do that. You don't want your whole allowance to go. I'm just saying give a little bit. And they say, oh no, we have a nice place to stay. We want our new friends to have a safe place to stay. I want you to have my whole allowance. And girl after little girl came up saying the same thing. And our team thought, we come here every year to bless these in Kenya. But we leave, we're the ones so blessed. They teach us every single year. It's a beautiful, beautiful ministry. So keep giving that mission offering. It goes to help things and people just like what I've shared. So thanks for letting me share. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be.